It's Wednesday, February the 4th. Lake level is about 914 and a half, and water temperature depends where you're at, but it's ranging from 42 degrees. I found some 45 degree, but mostly it seemed like in the lower 40s, throughout the lake. The weather the last week, we've had some really awesome days for the end of January, 1st of February. And it looked like a lot of people were taking advantage of it. I mean, I went crappie fishing a couple days, and it seemed like everybody's out there crappie fishing, and there's, bass boats out, recreation boats. So, and it looks like we're going to have pretty nice weather probably till about Monday. So, looks like, Sunday we got a cold front coming in. But as far as the bass fishing, I found, unless I'm out there scoping, I'm having a tough time getting a lot of bites. In the weights, they had a little tournament out of Cape Fear this past weekend. I think it was 22 pounds, and there was a 21-pound bag, and maybe another 19 or so. But a lot of the guys are catching them really good, and I think a lot of them are catching them out there, out over deep water scoping. I don't seem to have a problem catching 2 and 3 pounders out there live scoping. I do have a problem catching 4 or 5 pounders. So my hat's off to them guys that got, that deep scoping deal figured out. Where we've been scoping is, out in the middle of a lot of the main lake creeks. It seems like the creeks are working better than the main lake itself. But we've also been picking some fish off, out of deeper treetops where the trees top out anywhere from, 30 to 50 foot. And you might be in anywhere from 60 to 100 foot of water. It's kind of like what we do in the summertime and late fall. But most of the fish I've been catching out of them treetops have been Kentuckies. I think a lot of them fish that are roaming out in the middle of nowhere are good largemouths and smallmouths. But I seem like I have a little bit of a problem keying in on them open water fish. For some reason, I think the fish need to be there for a reason, like they got to be relating to trees or drop-offs, but it's almost like you got to throw out everything that you know about fishing and just put the trolling motor down and scope around till you see some fish or some bait. I'm sure the guys that got it figured out got to key things that they're keying on, but as far as for me out in the middle of nowhere, it's like a needle in a haystack a lot of times. But I have been able to catch a few fish shallow, on a jerkbait, but I've got to throw at a lot, mainly secondary points over submerged cedar tops, cedar trees. But one thing I found the other day, I was out crappie fishing, and I started catching more bass than I was crappie. And, a lot of them were, 13 to 15 inches. I had several keepers, but it seemed like I was crappie fishing on the main lake bluffs where the channel swings are around, timber. And I was just using like a little Bobby Garland swimming minnow, white and chartreuse. And it seemed like with an 1/8 ounce or 3/16 ounce head, it seemed like a lot of the fish that I was seeing in the trees I thought were crappie were actually spotted bass. So, if you want to have some fun, I think you can get out on them vertical bluffs with light lines, small baits, probably little road runners will work, as well as, little tiny swim baits. But another thing I found that'll work out there too, I picked up a little Ned rig and started throwing it any place there was like a little cut in the bluff or a little rock slide. I was throwing a 3/16 ounce Ned rig, 5-fish ultimate Ned head jig with a micro D-bomb missiles bait. It's a really small profile of their bigger D-bomb. And it seemed to work really good just working down them bluffy ledges. And a lot of the fish I caught, weren't much deeper than 20, 25 feet. So if you're not into going out there in the middle of the lake chasing them around with live scope, like I say, one place I know you can go is on them bluffs, and especially where them bluffs kind of end and the channels swing away. I've been catching some on Alabama rig, and it doesn't really matter whether swings off into a gravel flat or like a chunk rock bank. Seems like if I set the boat in, 25 feet or so, I can catch them on either an Alabama rig, or I can throw the swim baits and the Demiki style baits out there as well off them drop offs. And I've been using a lot of missiles like a spunk shad, and then a lot of the other just Demiki style baits, 4-inch baits, and also like a 2.8 swim bait. But if I'm not fishing that deep, I'll usually throw it on a 3/16 or 1/4 ounce. If I'm out there in the middle of the lake scoping, I'll be throwing it anywhere from a 1/2 ounce to a 1 ounce. Depends on, how deep the fish are. But there's other ways to catch fish, but I think the majority of the fish are still out there, in the main channels out in the middle of the lake. One thing I wanted to mention, like on your batteries, if your boat has been sitting outside and you haven't had them plugged in, man, you need to get your charger plugged in and charge them batteries. It's kind of like, your lawnmower sets all winter. You go out there come springtime, go to start it, and the battery's dead. And you think, man, I just put a battery in last year. Well, the same thing with your boat batteries. Like that lawnmower, it's sitting out there where it's cold. If you don't keep them charged up or go out and start it up every once in a while, more than likely your battery's going to be dead. But not so much the battery being dead, but the worst thing on them for the life of your batteries is sitting out there being dead when it's cold. And also this, in 2 weeks, you got the Extreme Outdoors annual swap meet at the event center at Extreme Outdoors. Then I believe the weekend after that, which would be 21st, 22nd, 23rd, is the Ulrich Marine first annual boat show. They're going to have, Vexus boats in there, Bass Cats. They'll have pontoons in there. Several different manufacturers, reps in there to be able to answer questions and display some of their new product. So you get a chance to get out there and go fishing. Looks like it's going to get cold again Sunday, and then there's a chance of, rain and snow next week. But so we've had some gorgeous days for the middle of February, or for end of January, 1st of February. Till next week, good luck, good fishing.